You're listening to the Football Coaching Life, a podcast brought to you by Football Coaches Australia and Making Media the Podcast Professionals. The Coaching Life is a story of the coaching journeys here in Australia, the men and women that we entrust with developing our players and our teams. And in the main, these stories haven't been told. Today, we're honoured to have, I'm going to say brand new, that's not quite, reappointed Newcastle Jets W League coach Ash Wilson. Welcome along, Ash. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah, it is nice. We'll talk about that. Let me give you a bit more of an intro. In doing the background to this, I realised that you're a Lismore lass. You come from Lismore, and which is where you played your junior footy.
I did, yeah. Good research, yes.
And let me just finish the intro and we'll jump in. So Ash is the first first female head coach of Newcastle Jets and is in good company now, along with Vicky Linton at Canberra and Kath Canuli at West Sydney Wanderers. So in small numbers as head coaches. So that's a fantastic appointment. Also a teacher by trade at Hunter Sports High as well. And had a coaching journey that began in Macquarie Academy when you were just probably around about the same time you started teaching, I think. Does that seem like a reasonable summary?
Well, you've done well, yeah. Very well.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit more experience. Ralph has been a very good mentor about where to go for looking for these things. So welcome along Ash. It's great to have you here. First of all, let's kick off. How's life being a head coach in crazy COVID lockdown and pre-season and all of those things with you right now?
Oh, look, I guess at the moment, we know we've got a couple more weeks to get prepared than the boys. We're reaching out to some of the girls that we've signed, obviously, to make sure that they feel supported at the moment, giving them some things in terms of programming and all those little things. But yeah, look, it's definitely a new world, and it's it's my second season, and it just seems like both seasons have had some kind of COVID impact. So actually, if I get the gig again in the future and we don't have this issue, that could be difficult for me, because this seems to be the new norm at the moment. Just making sure that people feel supported and figuring out. I think you just basically looking at, well, this is the what ifs, and we just got to be prepared for all possible situations.
Yeah. Do you think there's been any upside? I mean, it's been horrific, and don't get me wrong, there's no upside to horrific virus and disease like COVID is. But in chatting with Ange on this podcast, one of the things that he thought was a positive was that he'd learned how to use Zoom. So any upsides in this and the way that you've had to coach and those sorts of things?
Well, look, I think it definitely has made you rethink things that you do and how you present to players. Like even, I suppose, this year in the academy, coming out of lockdown, or just into the academy last year as we came out of lockdown, we weren't allowed in the change rooms more than 7 people. So you started to change the way you were providing information to the players so that they had everything that they needed, could get prepared, get on the field. Knowing how to use Zoom and the full capacity of Zoom to connect with your players and in different ways has also been a positive. I guess it's giving you more tools. I work at a sports high as well, and within the academy. So I've just liked that we've actually been able to encourage kids to get out and do things individually and work on things that they're passionate about or skills that they want to develop, and we're seeing a little bit more of that intrinsic drive from them to go out and do things beyond what they might be able to get just in a team training environment, even though it's tough knowing that they're missing so much contact time with you and you want to be there to be able to support them. So yeah, those I guess have been some elements that I've thought have been not too bad given the current circumstances.
Yeah, thanks for that. Do you think one of the criticisms of this current generation of young players is they're happy on a couch with a mobile device in their hands and perhaps not quite as motivated to get in the backyard or out in the street or down the park and kick the ball around with their mates or juggle the ball? Do you think that's obviously a generalisation, but do you think this has created more opportunities for young players to do that?
To be couch potatoes, is that what you're saying? Oh,
No,
100%.
to actually go out and work on those individual skills that practice they haven't.
For sure. And look, I come from a context where I work obviously at a sports high. So we've got a lot of students that are at our high school because they want to be footballers. I also work within an academy system where it's our feeder academy to our A League and W League teams. So we've got a lot of motivated kids there. So we're lucky in that sense. And we've been really trying to drive home that for them, because I agree with you. I think that we do have a generation of players that potentially haven't had that drive and motivation to go out and do things, on their own as much as perhaps past generations have. But sometimes, like, you look at the opportunities they have for team training. Some of our academy teams are training 4, 5, 7, 8 times a week, depending on, if they're at a sports high or if they're getting some of those extra specialized programs. Whereas, back in my day, I know that I had to do a lot of extra stuff to become the player I was. And I watched a lot of football just growing up. I just used to like watching it. And I think that's probably one of the criticisms I have of young kids at the moment these days, is that they like playing football. They love being good at football, but maybe they don't watch as much of it as they possibly could.
Yeah, no, I like that. Actually, this is about your coaching journey, not your playing journey. But take us back to the beginnings of you falling in love with the game of football. So Lismore, a famous football area. I know Craig and Paul Foster are also from Lismore. What was junior football like for you? And were there any coaches that made a difference in your life when you were kicking off your football journey?
Yeah, look, I my first ever team, I was 5, and my dad had a ball at my feet for as long as I can remember. And he was a Lismore boy, and we were in Sydney, but we moved back to Lismore when I was 5, and he basically hooked up with his best mate and said, let's get our kids into a team. So from the age of 5, I started playing under 6s boys, stayed in there for a couple of years, and then progressed through the age groups with the boys team. My first ever coach was a guy named Howard Stubbs, who he's worked at Northern Inland. He was such a great guy. But my dad actually was from about the age of under 12s, I think. The boys team up at our club, Ganellaba Hornets, which was the same team that Foz went through. He took my team from under 12s to 16s. So he had a big impact on my life. And within that time, I also had other really great coaches like Mark Ambler, Bruce Tracy, Mark Jones as well, who helped me as I progressed. Definitely was one of those kids that peaked early, like made a 19 state team at the age of 13, and went through the junior national ranks for a bit, made my first National League debut at 15. And then, just a few injuries. And sort of by the time I got a little bit older, it just sort of was not playing at that level wasn't something I was able to do anymore. But yeah, those coaches definitely had a big impact on me. I was really lucky too. I moved to Newcastle to play away from home when I was 18. So I was playing for Northern New South Wales in the State League and the National League. Had Mark Jones as a coach, but also our reserve grade coach was a lady of the name Renee Iserath, who was, an ex-Matilda. So she's just been a mentor to me as well. And just seeing those coaches work, all very different. And then, that was, I guess, they were some of the coaches that had a big impact on me as a player. And then obviously getting into coaching, there were some other coaches that had impacts on me as well. Yeah,
well, thanks for that. We'll get to those. You're now in Newcastle. You obviously decide to be a school teacher, and you come through that. And was it around about the same time that you started teaching that you ended up coaching in the Macquarie Academy?
Yeah, it was very close. I did my internship, so my last year of teaching in 2006, and I think I was in the academy around that 2006 2007 mark. So I was a player. I was playing in the Newcastle WPL, playing first grade. And obviously, being a teacher, I think a lot of teachers, particularly PE teachers, have that natural affinity for coaching. It's something within our system. We just, we want to help people grow. I love the sport. So I've always had a passion for football and wanting to give back. And like I said, my dad was it's almost the family business. I say it all the time. He was a PE teacher. And he just loved football and he loved coaching. And so it was, when I look back on my life now, it's almost like I'm doing some of the things that he's done, and that just lets me know that he was a big role model for me. And so being able to give back to the game at a young level was important for me.
Yeah. Looking back, you're very young in coach years. If we cut you in half, the coach years, there's not too many circles there. So still an awful long way to go. But looking back, Ash, how important was that first opportunity at Macquarie Academy to start to get a feel for what coaching really was?
Yeah, it was massive. There was a lot of supportive people working within that club, and they were wanting to make the academy the best it could be. And I was just getting a lot of feedback, a lot of support, and just working with some really great kids and seeing them progress. So I think, working within that environment, you sort of see what's possible, and you see the impact that you're having on young players. And I think, for me, it definitely filled me with a sense of worth and a sense of purpose. And I just really enjoyed, being able to be part of their development. And so I guess that just continued to add fuel to the passion. And then that passion makes you want to go and learn more, and it makes you want to connect with other people that are working at higher levels. And look, from that time, I was building my skills as a coach. I was still playing, and I came out of the academy still being a player. And I think that program, I can't remember whether it fell away a little bit. So there wasn't an opportunity to coach within there. So a lot of the young players I coached within the academy, I took them with me to the club I was playing at, and sort of put them in my under 18 reserve grade team. And I said to my coach, look, I'll coach them and I'll play first grade. So I was able to work with them for a couple of years. And look, it was something that I loved doing. And it got to the point where I was playing first grade, and our coach, who was Shelley Yeoman, she's an ex-Matilda as well, great lady, but she decided she wasn't going to coach us anymore. And in the end, I was like, I've had some interesting coaches in the past, and this female coach was amazing. Someone so committed to us that I couldn't see what was better out there. And I just and that we'll be able to really push for things. So that was something that was a catalyst, I think, for what happened then, because that was a little bit more of the senior stuff. But even within that, I think people at Northern New South Wales, and I thank them for the opportunity. They put me through my C license, a female-only C license in 2009, where I met some incredible people. And obviously that was the start of my advanced coaching pathway. And all from that first experience.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? And do you think starting that way in the academies, coaching the young players, do you think that gives you a greater focus and understanding that it's really, really important that we can teach young players skills?
Oh, 100%. You want them to be able to do certain things. It's about trying to add to their toolkit, right? And I've seen the whole spectrum now. So I've seen what it's like at that younger age, working with those young young females that are just really passionate about football, and you want to give them as many things as you can to help them grow and develop just that love for the game, knowing that, again, the passion that they have is going to drive them to want to be better. And then, like I said, I've got to the other end of the spectrum at W League, where you want players to have certain characteristics: technical, tactical, physical, psychological, and that's why that youth pathway is so important, because you can start to build those skills and you can start to ingrain those things early, so that when they do get to the pointier ends, they've those things, those technical things are almost second nature, and you're working on other things that are not going to be detracting from the performance.
Ash, join the dots for us quickly between those beginnings and now you obviously work with Craig as his assistant in the W League for 5 years. Before you got to the academy, I heard you say that I think in starting there and ended up in that Jets academy, you sort of a bit of a light bulb moment, because you understood there was a pathway and that you were on it. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say, just join the dots. So the Macquarie Academy, you mentioned Clubland there. How did the opportunity at Newcastle Jets, what were some of the experiences you were going through to get that opportunity with the Jets? Yeah,
so I was playing for Adamstown Rosebuds in the WPL. And I played there for 3 seasons. And the first season I was playing there, I was coaching the reserve grade team, which were a lot of my under 15, under 16 Macquarie Academy kids that I brought with me. So coaching reserve grade, playing first grade. The next year, like I said, Shelley, our coach, decided she didn't want to take the position up again. So I put my hand up to be a player coach for first grade and reserve grade that next year. So I think that was 2013, and I think we won the grand final that year in first grade, and our reserve grade team made the final. The next year, 2014, both teams won the minor premiership. Our team lost the final. The younger girls won their grand final, so it was a really great year for the club. At that time, the Newcastle Jets Academy were actually in our comp. They were playing against us, and Gary Van Egmond was the TD at the time. So I guess, look, I guess he saw something in me as a coach, and he asked me if I wanted to come over to the academy in 2015. So actually, it was a bit tough. I knew we played the Jets Academy in the 2014 final, and I knew I was going, but I hadn't told anyone, and we lost. It was a tough night. But yeah, look, I'm so grateful to Gary for giving me that opportunity, because you're right. I saw the pathway from there. So in 2015, I came into the academy. I was coaching one of the younger teams. I think it was under 15 team. We were playing in the Sydney comp. They were playing age up. So I was getting to work with a lot of young players again. And at that point, Craig Dean's got the head coach gig, and he just said, "Do you want to be my assistant?" And that's kind of where that took off. And I've still been in the academy. I've still been working in the academy. I've coached under 15s, under 17s for a lot of the last couple of years. I've been coaching the first grade team, which is under 20. And then obviously I had 5 years of assistant coaching under Craig, and then sort of 2.5 years as first grade coach, first being that interim. So yeah, look, again, massively grateful to Gary for seeing something in me. And, we got a lot of support under his leadership as a technical director. And then again, Craig Dean's a lot of influence and support for me over the years, and helping me to develop, and just helping me to get, there's so many tools that you need as a coach. It's not just stepping on the field, particularly at the higher levels. There's, the people management, the player management, there's the organization and admin stuff, all those things that you don't expect and you don't see when you first get into it, particularly coaching at those younger age groups. And I think between, all those mentors, I've definitely been given some tools to drip feed those skills, because I'm a massive believer, I think, in building my craft. I'm the first one to say I don't know everything, but I'm someone that thinks or that believes in lifelong learning. And so having access to people like that have supported me and giving me guidance has been very helpful.
I love that. Ash, talk to me a little bit. I've heard you talk about juggling. You're juggling now. You're the head W League coach. You're the academy head academy coach. You're a full-time teacher. You must have great bosses in all of those places to help you make that work. And you talk. I've heard you talk also about that's the same for the W League players. They're not full-time professionals. They earn a little bit for a short period of time. They've got some of them will have full-time jobs. Some of them will have part-time jobs. What's the life like for a female player, female coach in that juggling, keeping the plates on the poles as the poles are spinning without crashing and burning the plates?
Yeah, look, I guess everyone's different. Everyone's got their own challenges. Everyone's got their own strategies to make things work. I've definitely found in my case, support has been a massive thing. So yeah, I have the support of the academy, obviously, to do what I need to do from a W League perspective and from a school perspective. I'm the head teacher at my high school, and so I work very closely with the executives and my principal. And I think being within a sports high and seeing that value of having someone within the sports high as a teacher linked to an elite academy and an elite W League team and an elite A League club is quite beneficial. So she's been really supportive, but you have to be able to manage your time, and the girls are the same. They have to manage their time. They have to have good relationships with their work. And every girl I've worked with at Newcastle's, hats off to their places of employment. Because they see the goals that the girls set for themselves and what they want to do. And, there's always that support from work, but it's a necessity for them because there needs to be an income that's going to support their lifestyle. And, while it's getting better in football, and it definitely is, I often joke, I just love getting the tracksuit and a flight and a 4-star hotel. That was what we got. But everything's relative, right? So, obviously the players today, like, this is their norm, and we want to keep seeing it getting better. But at the moment, they still have those challenges. So hats off to the places of employment. The girls, we have to juggle, our club in particular, we have to juggle our schedule and when we train to make sure that everyone's got the maximal ability to train and to be able to satisfy what they need to do outside of football. So it's really about managing those players, managing that workload, and again, staff have to do it for themselves as well. But we do it because we love it. I would love more hours in the day, but I don't have it. And at the end of the day, I don't care because I get to be in football how I like. I get to coach a great team and be part of a fantastic club that I've been part of for so long. So, I know that I'm grateful. I also teach in a fantastic high school and work with some amazing people. I have an amazing staff that work under me in my faculty, and I don't think I would be able to do what I do without them, because whenever I'm not there, or COVID last year, there was a few, we went into isolation a couple of times because we hit some road bumps getting into certain areas, and I've got people in my staff that just pick the ball up and just work and make sure that everyone's supported. So the support networks are massive, and the understanding about sometimes the challenges is important. You can't ever use it as an excuse. You just have to find ways to work around it so everyone has, I guess, the maximum ability to do what they need to do.
Yeah. So how do you find time for shopping for shoes and watching movies, which is your, I believe, is your downtime thing?
Who's been telling you that? Well, generally my shoe collection is an online thing. So, online is open all the time, Gary.
And hey, we got some good news today. Wellington Knicks have now got a new W League team, so that's the buy goes bye, and we've now got another couple of games, which is still a long way off, perhaps what we need, but a good step forward.
Yeah, look, I think, there's been little steps in other areas. This is definitely the next big one that people keep pushing for, that home and away season, that more games, making it longer, because at the end of the day, we want our players to play games. And so, yeah, this is a great next step. And obviously the announcement of, Central Coast and Western United next year, maybe, whether it's next year, the year after, it's small steps, but again, it's a positive step, and more games. I'm all for more games.
Yeah. Okay, let's get right into coaching. I've asked almost everyone this question. I was back in the day before lockdown. I used to drive across to Footscray, the other side of Melbourne from where I am today, to go to Ralph's studio, and I would listen to a podcast, not about football, normally about business, on the way. And I heard. I heard the host of the podcast talking to someone else and talking about the difference between aspiration and capability. And it really dawned on me that within football, all coaches have to have their own philosophy, and we can get a little bit snobbery because we all want to play like, Manchester City or Chelsea or whatever your team is, the biggest teams, the best clubs in the world. And then you're coaching the team that you've got with the athletes that you've got. Talk to me a little bit about that. Where do you sit on that spectrum between having these aspiration and capability?
Look, I think, I think at times you have to be realistic, but you need to have aspirations. You need to have goals and things that you want to achieve. There's no point in going, oh no, maybe. I think you have to have a starting point. And if that's what you want to do, then everything that you do needs to be something that is going to try and achieve that, right? So you also have to understand the player's capability. So at times too, you have to have aspirations, and you have to then also be able to understand that within your playing group, there might be things that are more suited to other people, or there might be things that you can and can't do, but your job is to try to, as much as you can, maximize players' potential so they can execute what you want. But you also, like I said, you have to understand that where the limitations may lie, or limitations is, I feel like that's a really negative word, but where you might need to adjust certain things to be able to make sure that everyone can achieve and we can push towards those goals, then that's a big thing for me. So you have to set your aspirations within the limits, but you have to have aspirations.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. So Ash, how has your coaching changed over your coaching journey? Has your coaching changed over your coaching journey?
Yeah, it has. It has. Like I still think that I have, the same values that I look for. There's this certain, things around mentality, certain physical aspects, tactical aspects that I just want my players to be able to have to execute a brand of football that I want to be able to play. But I think the way your coaching changes as you move through certain coaching levels, as you get more experience, is, I guess, the way you communicate things, the way you organize things. My setting up and my session design now is probably a little bit more fluid and fluent than what it used to be. You find ways to maximize your time and be more efficient and be more effective. You find ways to be able to communicate ideas better. And all that's through practice, and all that's through the communications you have with other coaches and the experiences that you have. I definitely haven't changed in what I think is nice football to watch, right? And what I like to see on the park, that hasn't changed. But the way I try to maybe get players to achieve some of those feats, the way I give information to players, that's changed. And I'm constantly seeing things that make me go, oh, I really like how they did that. And then you're just adding more to your bucket, and you're trying to find out, oh, will that work in my environment? How can I adjust that to my environment? So, I'm constantly trying to evolve and change and do things differently and do things better. I think that's definitely something that's changed within me.
Good on you. Ash, you've had you've mentioned a whole bunch of people so far that have had an impact on you as a coach and on your coaching journey. Do you, or have you had a coaching mentor? Have you got someone that you can pick up the phone to or bounce ideas off and to help you think through things, get through the other side of problems?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's no surprise. I worked quite heavily with Craig Deans for a number of years. So, he's someone that, I talk to a lot. Every time I see Gary Van Egmond, we'll talk football, and it's always great having conversations with him because he's got such strong opinions, and it's great. It's, he challenges the way you think about things. So that's fantastic. I'm good friends with Mel Andrietta, and every time if I need her help for anything, I'm more than happy to call her or shoot her a bit of a message. I love her pathway and what she's done. One of my best mates is Kat Smith, who she's done her pro license. We met on that female only football C license back in 2009, and she's someone I just I can talk to about football all the time. And my dad, to be honest, he loves his football. He's a bit too proud to go off and do some of his coaching licenses, but he's someone that loves to watch football and just appreciate all football and just analyzes the game. So there's generally not a phone call that we have, either me calling him or him calling me, where football doesn't come up in some respects. So, yeah.
How important do you think it is to have a mentor on your journey?
Yeah, look, I think that you do need to be able to be open and having trust in people that are going to give you honest feedback. And, I think that's really important. And I think, for me, I want to continue to evolve my range of people that I can go to, because like I said, the more information that you can get, the more opinions that you can get from other people, like I said, whether you agree with it, whether you don't, you can always add to what you're thinking, and you can add to your toolbox as a coach, and you get that from conversations, you get that from professional development. But yeah, just having people that you can trust that will give you honest opinions, and I think that that's really important.
Yeah. In adding to your toolbox, have you looked outside of football? Have you looked at from experienced coaches from other sports? I'm not quite sure how you'd have time to do that, to be honest with you. But
look, there's a gentleman at school with us. He's an elite basketball coach, and he's an English teacher, and he's just amazing in how he looks at coaching. So, there's been times where I've just ducked into a basketball targeted sports session and just watched him operate, and we have little conversations around coaching. But look, it's I don't have a lot outside football, if I'm being really honest, but it's something that I actually think is important. So for me, like I said, you're constantly learning and you constantly want to grow. And I definitely think that that's an area of my development that could add value to what I do, is having further people beyond the football world, because there's so many great things and great pearls of wisdom you can get just from other coaches or other mentors outside of our sport that can add value to what we do inside our sport.
Yeah, thanks for that. You're listening to the Football Coaching Life, a podcast brought to you by Football Coaches Australia and Making Media, the podcast professionals. Today's guest is Ash Wilson, W League head coach, Newcastle Jets. Why do you do it, Ash? Why do you coach?
I just love it. I love football. Yeah, I definitely knew it wasn't going to be something that I was going to be able to do for the rest of my life, but I always wanted to give back to the game. To be honest, I actually don't, and I just don't think I could see a life where football doesn't exist in some respect. So for me, this was the best way to give back to the game, the best way to keep football such a prominent figure in my life. And particularly in the women's game, you don't do it for the money. So there's got to be something else behind it, and that's it. I think passion and just a pure love for the game. And again, like I said earlier, I think teachers just have this weird just drive and desire to keep influencing people and having impact on people's lives. So maybe that's part of it as well for me.
Good on you. I've worked out, Ash, you have to add the word "yet" to the end of that sentence. You don't do it for money yet.
Yeah.
Because the good days are coming. We've got to believe that, don't we?
Oh, we do. And yeah, look, I think the more exposure that we have, the more people that are fighting to make this even more of a, well, obviously it is an issue that people are fighting for, but I think the more voices and people are getting in the corner, we're seeing the W League become even more of a prominent feature within our game, and clubs are getting on board and supporting, and it's only going to grow. You can't see it taking a backward step. So yeah, that's the goal. To maybe to make it something that can be driven partly by money.
That'd be nice. Get a gig with Tanya Oxtoby coaching at Chelsea. That'd be a nice. Well, that actually be nice. Be paid as a.
I sent her a message to congratulate her because we played together for a season in the National League. She came over to Newcastle and played for Northern New South Wales Pride, and proud of her. Like she's doing fantastic things. Such a great opportunity. So yeah, she said, "Oh, if you ever need to reach out." So Tanya, if you're listening, I probably will.
Of course she is. Why wouldn't she? Ash, changing track a little bit, we mentioned the life of female coaches and female players, and trying to juggle all of that. Along with that comes injury and disappointment. How important is it for resilience for coaches and footballers? I guess in general we know that, but for coaches.
Yeah, look, I'm a big believer in the importance of resilience. Even in general life, I teach it within my faculty at school, but in all facets of life, you do have to have an element of resilience. And I think, as a coach, particularly as a female coach, there's an understanding there that there are going to be setbacks and there are going to be disappointments, and there might be a lack of opportunity at time. But if you give in, if you accept when things are down, or if you accept no at times, for me, things are like, it's not yet. Like you have to be able to do things, or you have to be able to, I guess, in yourself, know that you're good enough, and continue to work, and continue to challenge yourself, and see that if you allow setbacks to stop you from trying to achieve your dreams and your goals and your aspirations, and ultimately you're the one that misses out. So there are so many other female coaches that have gone before me that have just persevered, and Mel, Ray, they've had jobs, that pretty stable jobs like myself, that they gave up to go and pursue to be a coach, and look at where they are now. If they just let that go and accepted defeat at times, or accepted the challenges were too much, then they wouldn't get to where they are. And I've taken a long road to get where I am. And at some point, I might need to be a bit braver and find an opportunity and let go of something to really pursue what I want. But I definitely have made sure that as I've got to this point, that I've taken the opportunities that I've been given, and that I've, found a way to work around the challenges and not let them set me back.
Yeah, thanks for that. Let's just keep going on that for a little minute. The more that I talk to coaches about this, the more I think about it, the more I reflect on me. I've come to the conclusion that I think we've got a resilience muscle, and I think it can be developed, and we can make it stronger. So I'm interested to get your thoughts on that, particularly as a teacher, because you mentioned that you teach it, and that's not. You don't hear people talk about teaching resilience. It's sort of something people seem to do or don't do. So you got some thoughts around that?
Oh, look, I agree. I think it's something that you can develop, and it's about having strategies. It's about being someone that's open to get support, and someone that's open to, not letting things get them down. And I think that when you start to learn that there are people that are around you, when you start to learn that you've got support networks, when you realize that, or when you start to develop skills around communication, and being able to understand, I guess, certain triggers within yourself that maybe have an impact on your, I guess, your feelings, your well-being, and the way you react to either conflict or setbacks. If you can identify those things, you can start to work out skills and strategies to be able to maybe combat those. So it's an interesting concept. I definitely think that there's a way, or there are methods and strategies that people need to be able to develop to be able to, build their resiliency skills. And the concept, I like the concept of not yet. It's almost like this growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So, you having a growth mindset means that obviously, even in setbacks, or even if you achieve something well, you've got a growth mindset to want to be better and to want to keep pushing yourself, and to understand that, there's more that you can do, or there's more growing that you can achieve, and not letting setbacks hold you back. And some people have a fixed mindset, but it's about working with them to be able to develop that growth mindset. And I think that's similar in terms of resilience. Some people maybe don't have as much resilience, but there are definitely conversations and strategies that you can work with those individuals. And the biggest part is them recognizing the kind of support structures are around them to be able to help with that. Lots of athletes now, that you look at the players, and there's so much support for them to be able to help build their resilience. The sports psych stuff was never really around when we were coming through, when I was coming through. But that's something that can help build players' resilience. It's giving them tools to be able to manage difficult situations or setbacks, and it's just adding to that.
Oh, thanks. I like that a lot. What have been some of your most enjoyable moments as a coach?
Oh God. Well, I guess my first win back in 2019 in the W League against Adelaide. That was pretty cool. It was a home game at the stadium, and actually one of our academy girls that I'd coached from Macquarie days, who went through the Newcastle. She scored a goal that night, so that was nice. With Adamstown, again, it was probably like my first senior role. Winning a couple of minor premierships with the reserve grade and the first grade team with a club that's a really great community. And then I think it was 2018. We took the Jets to the national titles in the 14s and 15s, and we both won. I had the 15s team, Deansy had the 14s team, and we both won. And we won the night the day before, so the second last day, we couldn't be beaten. And the 14s knew, and my 15s team didn't know. I think they were waiting on a result the next day, and I remember telling them at the hotel, and we filmed it, and it was just their reactions was pretty special. So yeah, those are pretty memorable, those three.
Certainly are. So for a coach then, what does success look like?
Look, I think there are many things that that I think in terms of success, there are many things, but for me, I'm thinking it's about, how have you got your players to perform? Are you getting the best out of your players? Are you getting them to perform to their capacity week in, week out? Are they enjoying their football? Are they wanting to play for you? Obviously, you've got your performance goals, and everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to get into those finals, but at times that can't be your measure of success, because it might not be be achievable. So I think like that's one layer of success, and I think that there are other layers of success that come underneath that. So, you know, people showing pride in the badge, people improving, people performing to their capacities week in and week out. Those things are little wins, I think, when we talk about success. But yeah, look, I think if you're always just measuring it by wins, it's a difficult one. But then at the same time, like, I think even just reflecting on my coaching life, there's probably going to be a little bit more reflection around like wins and success at my level. So it's a hard balance, because I want my girls to be successful and I want them to win. There are certain little things that they need to achieve success with to be able to get to that end goal. So it's a tough question. It's a tough question.
Yep. That's the way we like them on here.
It's good.
So on your coaching journey, what have been some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned?
Look, I think that how you manage players, how you are as a person, as a coach, is a really important thing. You know, because coaching what I've found is that there's so many different things that just go into coaching. You know, you're not just rocking up at a session, you know, putting out some cones and telling players what to do. There's so many different elements to it. You're there for them, you know, if they need, sometimes you're a shoulder to cry on, right? Like, sometimes you've got to show a little bit of tough love. You want them to be, everyone's different. It's like a school. Every athlete that you're working with has different attributes, has different ways they like to learn. They have different things that motivate them. So you have to be someone that can understand that, and that can bring it all together in a way where you're moving towards your team goal, and you're working towards it. You know, whether it's a playing style that you're setting for them that's going to suit your team. All that stuff is really important, and that's some of the biggest lessons that I've learned, is that, you know, there's so much more to coaching than coaching.
And fair to say, when you take on a head coaching role, that you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, 100%, 100%. It's so true. You don't know what you don't know, and then all of a sudden something happens. You're like, okay, well, I know that now, and I'll add that one to the toolbox. Yeah, even reflecting on last year, you know, there are things that we want to do differently this year, in, like, you know, in what we're doing in the back room, and what we want to do on the pitch. You know, because you have to, I think, for me, evaluation, and that's probably one of the other big things I take away, is that feedback and evaluation are critical. You have to constantly evaluate what you're doing and how you're doing it, and is it getting the results? Is it getting what you need? Evaluation is such an important part of coaching, and feedback, because it gives you feedback for yourself too. Getting feedback for yourself, feedback for the players, and if you're doing that, if you're evaluating and you're taking on feedback, then, you know, then you're in positions to keep improving what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Okay, we're on the downhill run here.
Okay.
Ash, if there was one piece of wisdom that you could offer to coaches, what would that be?
I think, I've said it a couple of times. I think the biggest thing is, if you want to be a coach, get involved. Find ways to, whether it's with your local club, whether it's with your association, find ways to get involved, and make sure that you connect with people that can help you grow. You know, understand that there are going to be challenges. Understand that you don't know everything straight away, and that there are so many things that you can go to expand your knowledge, and you're a lifelong learner as a coach, and that's not something to fear. It's actually something to embrace, because you'll find that you'll be constantly changing what you think is right, what you think is going to be effective, and ultimately I think, at the end of the day, it's about putting yourself in those positions where you can work towards your goals.
What a great place to finish it. Lifelong learning. Love that, Ash Wilson. You're a star. So good luck for the new W League season. We look forward to watching Newcastle Jets and seeing some success. Thanks a lot, Ash.
Thanks, Gary.
You've been listening to The Football Coaching Life, a podcast brought to you by Football Coaches Australia and Making Media, the podcast professionals. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, then go to footballcoachesorg.aus.au, buy a membership, renew a membership. Hey, it's AGM time, but they'll be gone by the time you listen to this. You just have a great day in football.